Well, welcome everyone to the 6th celebration of the Praxis Award in Professional Ethics. My name is Mark Dorley. I'm the director of the Ethics Program in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences here at Villanova. The Ethics Program inaugurated this annual event in the spring of 2007. Our goal was simple: recognize and celebrate an individual for his or her outstanding commitment to the ethical ideals of his or her profession. We have been fortunate to have some amazing people come to spend time with us and to receive our award. With Mr. Andrew Kricun, God continues to bless us with extraordinary people. I am very grateful that you are all here to help us to celebrate his achievements and to support the vision of the Praxis Award. I want to point out at this time some particular people for a word of gratitude. This event would not be possible without the financial support and sponsorship of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the College of Nursing, the College of Engineering, and the Villanova School of Business. So to the deans of those colleges, Dean Linney, Dean Fitzpatrick, who will be here later, Dean Gabriel, who sent his regrets, and Dean Clark, who just is back there joining us. Thank you very much. My deepest appreciations for your generosity and support. I want to recognize my faculty colleagues in the ethics program, Professors Mark Wilson, Celine Grzozlu, Fuat Grzozlu, Peter Wicks, and Brett Wilmot. And we have some student representatives here. I don't know if they've come, they probably have come in. So Ellen Knapp and Benjamin Lawrence. Hi, Ellen. Is Benjamin coming? Yeah. From the Engineers Without Borders, Villanova group. And we have a representative from the Business Without Borders, Daniel Newell, who's here. Thank you for joining us this evening. And you know, there's a lot of things that go into making this event happen. And as much as I try to micromanage, actually I don't really. But it wouldn't happen without Mrs. Mary Quilter, so please give her a round of applause. And finally, I want to thank our undergraduate student workers, Arabelli Escobar, Justin Salvador, and Ashley Martinez, who are invaluable assistants in the office and are quickly picking up the art of preparing flower arrangements. So if you like the flowers, you can give them a shout out. So at this point, I'd like to give the podium over to Dr. Jean Ann Linney, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, for a few words.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you for including me in this special event. Many of the people in the room know that I joined the Villanova community in August, so this is the first Praxis Award celebration that I've been fortunate to participate in. Each year, this award highlights and celebrates the contributions of a professional for excellence in carrying out the ideals of ethics, ethical decision-making, and ethical practice. And without question, this year's recipient embodies those ideals in his work. If any of you had a chance to hear him speak earlier this afternoon, it's part of his DNA. There's just no question. And I think I was only there for a portion of the talk, but it just rolls right off of him. And I have to say there was only one question that stumped him, and I think this is telling. The question was, when did you decide that you wanted to do good? And it was fun to watch because I think you were truly stumped, which in my mind verifies that this is not an act, it's not forced, it's truly part of who Andy Kricun is. It's very significant that the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences is the home of the Villanova Ethics Program. The College of Liberal Arts and Sciences is really charged with providing an atmosphere of responsible learning for students who will be leaders of the future. We know that during the course of their lives and their careers, they'll be called upon to provide intellectual, moral, and professional leadership. So the core curriculum within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences is really designed to cultivate that sense of the importance of values and the moral responsibility of caring for others and working for the betterment of society. And this award, the Praxis Award, really embodies those ideals. We in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences really strive to create the leaders for the future who will make a positive change in whatever walk of life they pursue. I think this award and Andy Kricun reminds us all of the importance of ethical decision makers in our communities. They are the drivers of societal change. They sustain progress in making the world a better place. So on behalf of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, I want to congratulate Mr. Kricun and thank him for his tireless efforts to secure the health, the welfare, and safety of the neighbors of the wastewater treatment plant in Camden, New Jersey. Thank you for modeling the behavior that we aspire to, the behavior we seek every one of our students to practice in their professional lives. On behalf of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and Villanova University, we congratulate you.
Thank you, Dean Lenny. Before we get to the presentation of the award, I'd like to explain briefly the selection process. Each spring, we seek nominations for the following year's award. In fact, the call for nominations is up on the web as we speak. Those nominations are then vetted by a committee made up of representatives from each of the undergraduate professional colleges and the law school, as well as 4 members of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I would like to introduce the members of that committee and ask them to stand if they're here. Professor Brett Wilmot, Associate Director of the Ethics Program. Professor Barbara Ott of the College of Nursing. Professor Frank Falcone of the College of Engineering. Professor Brian Ota of the Chemistry Department. Professor Karen Hollis of the Department of English. And Professor Nick Rangione of the Villanova School of Business. I serve as the chair of the selection committee, and we met last April, and we chose this year's recipient. We have a tradition of the nominator of the award winner doing the introduction, and since I nominated Mr. Kricun, I get to introduce him. I will also introduce 2 members of the Waterfront South neighborhood community with whom Mr. Kricun has worked over the last several years. So there are two of the 5 criteria for the Praxis Award that jumped out at me when I began to consider nominating Mr. Kricun for this award. Those read as follows. Number 1, embodying the ethical ideals of a particular profession. And 2, connecting work in a profession to a broader understanding of the common good. As a professional engineer, Mr. Kricun is accountable to hold paramount the health, welfare, and safety of the public. From his earliest days as an engineer at the Camden County Municipal Utilities Authority, Mr. Kricun dedicated himself to pursuing solutions to the health and welfare and even the safety of the neighbors of the waste treatment plant located in the residential neighborhood of Waterfront South in Camden, New Jersey. Nearly 80 million gallons of sewage from Camden County residences and businesses flow through that plant, and the smell was outrageous for many years. It has taken Mr. Kricun a long time, but now that smell is 95% eliminated, much to the glee of the people who live there. Mr. Kricun did not limit his activities to the operation of his facility, a facility of which he is now executive director. He quickly realized, as he shared earlier this afternoon in his lecture, that engineers have to be attentive to the demands of environmental justice, particularly when located in areas that have suffered greatly from poor, if not irresponsible, environmental stewardship. He spent a great deal of energy creating collaborative relationships with people and institutions in the neighborhood, including Father Michael Doyle, pastor of Sacred Heart Church, who is here this evening, and with the Heart of Camden Housing Corporation, whose executive director, Helene Pearson, is also here this evening. He was a co-founder of the Waterfront South Environmental Network, working with Andrea Farrick, Director of Sustainability Initiatives at the Center for Environmental Transformation, and Andrea is also here this evening. This group's mission is to monitor and study the ongoing environmental impact of industry in the Waterfront South neighborhood. He also is engaged throughout the city of Camden in its new SMART initiatives, building rain gardens to better manage the thousands of gallons of water that regularly overwhelm the joint stormwater waste sewer system in Camden. Finally, but not only, but just for my remarks, finally, he has been instrumental in restoring the street lighting on Ferry Avenue, a main corridor of our neighborhood, after the retro lamps were ransacked for their copper by thieves. I detail all of these items not only to suggest to you how engaged Mr. Kricun is in pursuing the health, welfare, and safety of the public, but also his commitment to the common good, a commitment that captures the second criteria I mentioned earlier. These are some of the reasons I put Mr. Kricun forward for this award. As I said, I have asked two people from the neighborhood, already mentioned, to offer brief remarks about the appropriateness of this reward for this honoree. First, we will hear from Ms. Helene Pearson, Executive Director of the Heart of Camden Housing Corporation.
It's just like Andy to sit in a second row when he's getting the award tonight, just like him. Good evening, and thanks to everyone involved in Villanova's Praxis Award ceremony and for giving me the privilege of honoring someone that I'm proud to know. It's not every day the Community Development Corporation would honor the head of a sewage treatment plant, but this is no ordinary man. Andy works tirelessly to improve the Waterfront South neighborhood, a Camden, New Jersey neighborhood that is challenging, distressed, and whose environment has been mistreated for many years. While a county-run sewage treatment plant can be mired in politics, Andy has risen above them and discovered he could use his incredible talents to put together plans and present solutions. Among the variety of projects that he has worked on to improve conditions are the installation of odor control systems, then sludge drying, dewatering facility upgrades, and then replacement of the doors on the sludge storage building to high speed. The collective effect of all these changes dramatically reduced odors in the neighborhood. These were plant-related projects. These professional accomplishments demonstrate Andy's being tops in his field. But he didn't stop there. He then began working side by side with us on environmental projects in the neighborhood. He stood firm with us while we pushed to have an old gas station that was shut down in the early 90s that was a scar to our neighborhood and a threat to our residents' health. The government had the funding, but they really didn't want to do that project with its 8 underground storage tanks and the potential liability. The neighborhood's blighted gas station has now given way to beautiful rain gardens that greet visitors at the South Gateway because of Andy. Most recently, we worked together on a project to acquire riverfront industrial land that allows our neighborhood to have access to the Delaware River in a park setting, something that our residents have not enjoyed in their lifetime despite our close proximity to the river. Andy walks the walk of a collaborative partnership in a way whose sincerity is of a rare breed. Andy is gentle and caring and contributes many extra hours to helping the neighborhood. More importantly, his care for the neighborhood residents and his ability to balance working with area industry and neighborhood stakeholders is professional, committed, and calm. The ability to have a local government stakeholder with such expertise guiding and communicating with the neighborhood has served the improvement of our neighborhood immensely. Camden is a tough town. The best and the brightest can work hard, and yet the odds are significant. And while we believe we are moving in a forward direction, Our work is not good enough for what we know we should be able to achieve as a standard of living for all in this country. And thus, so many in Camden become defensive as they truly are trying with all their might. I've spent many hours over the years in meetings that ran late into the night with Andy Kricun, who didn't need to attend environmental justice meetings, but instead often hosted them. He was often publicly attacked for the sins of the past environmental stewardship of our urban city, and never did I see him become defensive. Instead, what I witnessed was someone that woke up the next day and thought about what he could do to make things better. And it's for that I, being biased of course, can't think of a better person for this year's award. Andy, congratulations from the Front South community on this prestigious honor.
Thank you, Helene. And I would be remiss if I didn't remark that Father President has joined us. So thank you for coming, Father Peter. Now I'd like to ask Ms. Andrea Farrick, Director of Sustainability Initiatives at the Center for Environmental Transformation, to offer us some remarks.
Good evening. I am most honored to be helping to present this great Praxis Award along with Mark and Helene and others here to my friend and colleague, Andy Kricun. It is my honor to have worked closely with Andy over the last 8 years in Waterfront South, developing what has now become not only a statewide precedent with green infrastructure initiatives, but a national innovator of best practices for sewage treatment facility for all communities, not just environmental justice communities like Camden. Over 8 years ago, Andy was already organizing the institutions of Camden towards sustainability. Now he plays a key role in the Camden Green Team, a reality from what seemed unachievable is now moving forward with key citywide and regional partners working together toward building the local living economy in Camden. We look to Andy as a leader for the revitalization of the city. Political leaders and neighbors from around the city and county know that Andy is a man of his word, and his commitment is far beyond a 9-to-5 office job. Bringing Andy to a job means that it will happen, and prioritizing the low-hanging fruit and strategically planning for the pieces that were previously impossible. Not one of us in this room could have imagined that we could have come this far in Waterfront South, transforming the problems of the region into the opportunities for cleaning the waterways, educating communities, and stimulating the local economy. Thank you, Andy, for your vision, commitment, and collaborative heart. Thank you for staying inspired. You really do inspire us all. Now, Andy has launched the environmental work of the neighborhood into a whole new level over the past few years, including advocating for best practices of area industries, developing a 5-acre waterfront park, spearheading Camden's green infrastructure team, the Camden Smart Initiative, and overseeing neighborhood underground storage tanks, brownfield cleanup in Waterfront South. His expertise in air, water, and solid waste is expansive. And what sets Andy apart is his capacity to be moved by beauty and to meet with the most powerful and the most lowly on the same page as people who deserve clean air and water with dignity. Over the years, I have heard Andy even describe it this way: it's my goal that we will do our job so well that people won't even know that we're there. Andy is in the business of making clean water for all of us. He is a rare breed, a certain timeless politeness and work ethic, combined with the visionary lens of a poet, grounded in the principles and procedures of a scientist. Andy has made the great work of sustainable development in Waterfront South both effective and enjoyable. Remember when we went to Kent County, Delaware to sniff out their facility for ourselves that one time and brought the technology back to Camden? Andy's presence is commonplace in Waterfront South happenings, from potato planting, community barbecues, celebrations, and actions. Andy, we most deeply feel the love that you have for your neighbors. Most recently, Andy was also nominated to the U.S. EPA's Environmental Justice Committee. Within the past few years, Andy has leased CCMUA property for the establishment of the Waterfront South Tree Nursery, now growing over 75 green ash and redbud trees for the community. This past summer, Andy also allowed the Center for Environmental Transformation to use an underutilized green corridor on CCMUA property for the establishment of the Camden Farms Native Plant Nursery. Now we grow thousands of native plants a year for the rain gardens across the city. Andy's even directed his team at the CCMUA to install a sprinkler system for these plants on a timer. Andy is a champion of theory in action, establishing an Office of Sustainability for the county, installing solar panels, a $40 million sludge dehydration system, the coming geothermal, and an ever-increasing creativity and passion in making clean and affordable water for residents of Camden County and all those who live downstream in our watershed. Andy is like the little prince of Waterfront South, seeing with his heart and reaching for what is possible while greatly improving the quality of life in Camden in both small and massive ways. Thank you, Andy, from me and from all the residents of Waterfront South. We love the chapters you've written so far.
Thank you, Andrea. So yesterday on Jasper Street, across the street from Sacred Heart Church, Jorge Cartagena and his grandmother cut a ribbon on a house made available to them by the Heart of Camden, Sacred Heart Church, and the John Bon Jovi Foundation. Jorge was blinded last June when he was caught in a crossfire in North Camden. The community has rallied around him, particularly Helene, Father Michael, Andrea, and Chief of Police Thompson, who's here as well tonight. At that event yesterday, Mayor Dana Redd, who as a child was the recipient of the generosity of this Waterfront South community upon the loss of her parents when she was 8 years old, assured reporters that the generosity of the community is not a one-time thing. It's there every year, she said, for 20 years, for 40 years, for her and her family. I recall that for you this evening because Mr. Andrew Kricun is a member of that same community. And his commitment to that community, his steadfastness, perseverance, calm persistence, and always generous spirit has been on display for all to see for over 25 years. I am thrilled to be able to present him for the excellence with which he displays his commitment to the ethical ideals of his engineering profession with the 2012 Praxis Award in Professional Ethics. Andy. So just so you see that we got him a nice clock, Villanova clock, which says the Praxis Award in Professional Ethics, Andrew Kricun, PE, which means professional engineer for those of you who don't know. In recognition of his commitment to professional integrity, presented this 11th day of April 2012, the Ethics Program, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Villanova University. And along with this plaque is a $1,000 honorarium for Andy.
Thank you very much.
And then, one last thing, so that we'll always remember him, this gets hung in the Ethics Program. It's got all the past recipients, and Andy's name is already on there, thanks to Mary Quilter. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm as sort of speechless as I was when Professor Dorley first told me that I'd won the award. It's a tremendous honor, and I'd like to thank Professor Dorley for nominating me and the entire Villanova community for picking me for this award. I'm incredibly honored, and when I went to look on the website on the past winners, I was even doubly honored with the tremendous group of people that you've picked, and I'm very honored to be a member of that. And I see it as much of a recognition, more of a call to duty for the future than recognition of past events. I hope to try harder to be worthy of an honor like this. So I really thank you. And I appreciate it, especially Mark, for nominating me. I'd also like to say thanks to my family, because they have to put up with a lot of the extra time I put in. First, my wife couldn't be here because her father's had surgery yesterday. But I'd like to thank my wife Lisa and my son Max and my daughter Marielle, who are good sports about all of this, and I love them very much. I'd also like to thank my brother who's here tonight, my brother Mitch, who's my oldest friend, and I'm so glad he's here. I'd also like to thank the CCMUA commissioners, especially the executive director, Herman Engelbert, who first hired me and gave me a chance when I was right out of college and I didn't have a job, and I wasn't sure what to do. And I remember telling him that, I said, well, I don't know how long I'm going to stay, but terrible first interview, right? But I said, that's really true. And he was very nice about it. He said, well, thank you. We'll keep you, stay as long as you think fit, and we'll see what happens. And ended up staying quite a bit longer than I thought, and I really appreciated the opportunity he gave me to spread my wings a bit and to try to do good with the position. I also thank his fellow commissioners, Commissioners McFarlane and McKernan are here, as well as Commissioner Engelbert, and of course Mrs. Engelbert, who's been my longtime friend too, and like a second mother to me. So I thank the commissioners who are here, but the whole board who have been supportive of the program to try to not just make a positive difference with water quality, but to try to give back to the community. First, of course, to do no harm with regard to wastewater treatment odors, but also to give back and to try to make a positive difference. Without the support of the commissioners and the CCMA board, that couldn't have happened. Lastly, I'd like to thank my sort of adopted family of the Waterfront South community, who are just amazing and a tremendous inspiration. I remember when I first started as the deputy director of the authority and had my first sort of mission to meet with the community, they were very angry with us, and rightly so. Because we weren't, had odors all the time at the treatment plant. And I remember how kind Father Doyle was the first time I'd met him, and he, said to give him a chance, give it a fresh chance. And considering the plant had been there for, over 40 years, first with the city and then with the county, and how long they'd waited for odor control and proper treatment, the fact that he was still willing to give a new person a fresh chance was just very moving, and I never forgot it to this day. And I was grateful for the chance, the forgiveness, and the opportunity to work with the community that they've given us. They're amazing people, and they're really my heroes. And it's a tremendous privilege to get to work with them. And Helene and Andrea and Chief Thompson is amazing as well, and it's the whole community. And I feel very, very grateful. And of course, Father Doyle is an amazing inspiration to me, and an inspiration to many people. So again, I'd just like to thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you for the award. It's a tremendous honor. Thank you very much.